then there is no turning back. You have been christened, enlightened, illuminated, um, and you become a hierophant. And the new name that you get given is Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ is the ultimate name. you know, it's and and this is why people like David Icke's a good example. 20 years ago, when he first started in the truth movement, he went out public on TV saying he was Jesus Christ, and you get all these guys saying, "I'm Jesus, I'm Jesus." Even today, there's hundreds of them on the internet, and they're pretty enlightened guys. They're pretty, they're very conscious, and there's nothing wrong with them. But I talk to people all the time that say, "Well, I'm Jesus. I'm Jesus now," and I understand what they're saying. What they're saying is they've entered a new consciousness, and because we resonate with that archetype in the West, our archetype is Jesus. In the East, in India, when they get ascended, they don't talk about Jesus. They talk about Krishna. It's the same person. You know, the Indians that I talk to, they say, "Oh, I'm Krishna. I'm a Krishna now." Because that's their archetype. And then when you go to Japan, it'll be Buddha. And then when you go to the Andes Mountains, it'll be Viracocha or Quetzalcoatl. But it depends what archetype they have. But our archetype, especially in the Mediterranean and in the Western world, it's just Jesus. Forget about Bacchus and Sabazius. Those archetypes no longer, we don't resonate with them anymore. The new archetype is Jesus, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not a historical man. you know and people who look for a historical person, they still haven't worked it out. They still haven't ascended, and they think they have. Oh yeah, they think they're ascended, but they're not. And simply the fact that they still revert back to this historical Jesus proves beyond a doubt that they're still children in the Christ. They're still babes in the Christ, and they are still drinking the milk of the Christ, like the Apostle Paul said, and they cannot understand the mysteries and the sacred secret of the Christ.
Santos, so let's get into the lies now and this deceit that they have created, the Catholic Church and the other Christian branches of the Catholic Church. How do we present this topic so that people could begin to understand that this is all a lie, it's deceit? I mean, we've mentioned this before, and you just mentioned a little bit a while ago that if this Jesus Christ or Yeshua ben Joseph or Yeshua Pantera or whatever you want to call him, if he was a real person or he was the Savior, why isn't there any information about this guy? There's some stories, as I mentioned before, maybe in India, in the Tibet, and so forth. But within the religious structure, there is no evidence. There is no evidence. There's a whole. If he was real, no, if he was the real Savior, there's those missing years. Let's just say from the age of 13 to the age of 30. So how have they used this Jesus topic to deceive, and why, Santos?
Well, the best thing to do with this beautiful archetype of Jesus Christ is to turn it into a historical figure, like we do with little children and Santa Claus. Oh, Santa Claus is coming down the chimney on the 25th of December, and he's going to bring you some presents, little children. You see, we are looking for something tangible to the senses. Sometimes the senses cannot grasp the spiritual realms. We need something to see with our eyes. We can't see with our optic thalamus. It's turned off. The story of the Cyclops in the Odyssey, that's the Cyclopses that existed once were basically just people who could see with their third eye. Once that's activated, there's no need for historical versions of this story. But as for the people who insist on their historical Jesus, just let them be, because they will wake up one day. They have to. You've got to get past that stage. That's kindergarten. That's spiritual kindergarten. But it's a necessary process. It's necessary for these types to have something tangible to the senses, because that's what gets them through the chakras and through the higher resonances. And then eventually when they get it, eventually when they see with their clairvoyance, and then the master will appear, the true Jesus will appear, which is just spiritual wisdom. But in the meantime, let them be, and free yourself, But, I don't trouble myself too much with these people. I've even